Welcome everyone to this panel discussion on innovative thinking in bid management. The idea of this session is speakers here will really talk about their experiences of how they have innovated in bid management, and it is as a part of the knowledge sharing session, okay, that we are covering this. We have about four speakers here, and then there are two board members from APMP India. If time permits, all of us would like to share our own experiences. So let's start with Bijoy Rajguha first, and then we will move on to the next speaker. So Bijoy, over to you.
Yeah. I'm just sharing my screen. Just give me a second. Just let me know once you're able to see the screen.
Yes, we can. If you could just zoom in a bit.
So, okay now? So,
More maybe.
so let me start. So my name is Bijoy Rajguha. I have around 16 years of experience. I have worked mostly with the big MNCs like HCL Technologies, IBM, and I have worked with G Capitals also. So I'll just get into the topic on which I have worked in my initial career with when I was working with HCL Technologies. So so over here, they although they had a process of RFP response, but there was lack of time which was happening, multiple escalations which were coming, no bids were coming. So then we decided to do a project which was to smoothen up the process and smoothen up the process so that the delivery cycle becomes easier and the iterations becomes less for the proposal response. So there we have implemented the Six Sigma in the for the process. So I got certified also as a Green Belt Six Sigma certification from Indian Statistical Institute after I did this project along with the course from ISI New Delhi. So there are a few points, what actually we considered, that for an organization to capture new business, you know, uh, we have to rely on the process, and the we have to have a smooth process, and the business to begin with the business, so that the proposal submission becomes easier and timely in a timely fashion. That was our main motive. So the at that time, when we were working within the organization, the proposal preparation was done significantly in a very different way, wherein there was no coordination between the aligned functions like legal, pricing, and all. It was totally absurd. So and it was experience that for preparing the proposal response, so it took about 10 iterations along with the pricing and all. So this was again a very big thing which was taking time consuming and all. So then the what actually we decided was to follow a standard process and to develop artifacts for each phases of the proposal stage process in a very consistent, so that each and every and make the accountable. So we prepared a RACI matrix also, wherein the people who were responsible, accountable, committed, and informed all were there, and so that things are there is some proper accountability which comes into that particular proposal response. So based on this, there were many templates and many checklists which were developed. So and when the whole project was executed, and we gave it a name as the proposal development life cycle. The lean methodologies were used for streamlining the bid and proposal management, and the time frame was also reduced with a cost saving of around 10 k somewhere around 10K, which was happened. But that was the benefit which we took. So now I come to the actual process, which was actually done to achieve that particular. So the first phase of the project was to apply the Six Sigma principles, which includes the DMAC model, define, measure, analysis, improve, and continuously model the proposal and identify the undesirable effects. So I have given the definition of UDEs also. So the process, the UDEs are hindrance or a better throughput or higher performance or obstacles for achieving a system's goal, and isolate the root cause of the UDEs, and then develop an alternate process for to eliminate these problem which were coming during the response proposal process. The ultimate goal was to save time and money by improving the bids preparation cycle process by reducing or eliminating the effective scope and pricing iteration, as well as for ensuring that proper sign-offs are obtained at the correct step of the process. So this is the very important and step, and this is the main phase wherein the actual time which took us to gather the as is state and the to be state of that particular of the whole proposal development cycle. So the vision of this project was to reduce the time and expense and to streamline the process to be more effective and efficient, with an overall goal of reducing the nominal number of iteration down to 2. So this is again per suppose from the time the RFP comes till the it goes out of the system as a part of the response. There are many aligned function, many people, many things which we have to take into consideration, and each person has been for each step. Each step there were people who were accountable for the particular step. So those has been assigned, and a proper sign off has been taken from the senior management and all. The second part of the project was to develop new proposals process utilizing Kaizen concepts, analyze it and compare it with the new process against the current process. So the as is and the to be state which were analyzed, and the ways to improve and to reduce the overall cycle of completing the proposal. So this is this is the just the overall what I have, these are 4 or 5 points which I have. This is just a gist. So the I have a full 76 page document which has defined full steps, step by step procedure of the the how the process was implemented, what were the data which were considered, and what were the people, how the things got from the as is state to the to be state. So all these things which were considered. So this is what actually is the brief of the idea which I implemented for my in the organization. So that's any questions anybody has?
Bijoy, I may have missed the earlier part.
Sorry.
I may have missed this earlier when you started. Which organization did you do this for?
This is for HCL Technologies.
HL Technologies. Okay, sorry, my bad. I'd missed that. And in terms of the impact generated, so what metrics did you use, and what was the outcome on those?
See, the metrics which were used mostly on the how the process means, suppose in an RFP process there are steps which are involved, and on each steps how much time that particular person is taking time to respond. Suppose once the RFP comes, it goes to the legal for the review of the legal. How much time the legal is taking to get back to us with their review, and if there are any clause, if there are any things which we can standardize, wherein before we send it to the legal, the bid manager will read the RFP and tell the legal that these are some of the problems which I can see in the RFP. Please take a note of it, so that the things are expedited. So we in fact, the bid managers have also been taught about some of the standard practices. So this is mostly for the public sector RFPs. So in public sector RFPs, the we go along with the government of most of the legal terms and conditions are similar. The bid managers were also taught to understand the clauses which they can which can actually cause a problem. So again, the bid managers so the first step which was taken was to educate the bid managers on to be a consultant, to become a consultant rather than just to be a just to do a postman job. So all the people who were responsible were the mostly the time of response which was taken as a, because as it was seen in that the number of iteration was going beyond 10 for each of the RFP response. So this means there is some time lag or something which is there. So that is what actually the time part was very important metric which we took into consideration.
Got it. Thanks.
Anybody else any questions?
Sampata has posted a question on chat to Bijoy.
What level of sigma you could achieve, Bijoy? That's a question from Sampada. You're on mute now, Bijoy.
So I have completed Six Sigma from Green Belt. So again, for black belt and other thing, it was not actually qualified. So this was not that big, not that cost saving, because everything is dependent upon the saving, the timing, cost saving, and also. I never took a chance of saying I want to do a black belt. So, anyways.
Yeah. Gopal, I think now your audio should be good. We see those. No, sorry, we can't still hear you.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Sampada, now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I was interested in knowing, was there any measurement on the sigmas really? I mean, 1 sigma, 2 sigma, it's Six Sigma is all about really ensuring the quality of the deliverable or whatever is the parameter. If we say time is a parameter, then out of 100 bids that go out, 99.99 bids go out on time. I mean that kind of a thing. So was
So
there
Sampada,
anything specific, to that extent, that was measured?
yeah. So Sampada, the thing was that we developed a full process, what
Video.
we called as. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So, see, what was actually happened, we developed a whole set of process, what we called as proposal development life cycle PDLC process. So it became, see, earlier there was no process, and although whatever what was there, it was haphazard. Then now we had a whole bunch of 3-4 bid managers who are actually working for you can say a center of excellence we made based on this project. So then the response became very again now earlier we used to send, likewise I say legal was a department and the bid manager didn't knew whom to send earlier. So it was very confusing thing which was there. So now it was whole structured. So there was one DL was prepared for legal, one for pricing, and it was given to the bid manager so that they can communicate for that particular distribution list, and they whomsoever are added on that distribution list will revert any one of them. You're getting me? So it was totally what should I say? A structured thing which was there.
I
So
would say it was completely unstructured, and then you moved it to, through the process you moved it to a structured way of doing things. Probably
absolutely
that
right.
must have been the
Correct.
outcome. So
That was the
absolutely.
outcome.
Yeah. Okay. So I think if we are finished with Bijoy, then we can move on to Sonal if you're okay.
Yeah, sure. So thanks, Vijay, for sharing your great idea, great experience, and
Sorry,
thoughts.
I got disconnected. So can you hear me?
Yes, Bijoy. So we just requested Sonal to start presenting her topic now. So
Sure.
thanks for your presentation.
Okay, I'll try to close in within the time allotted. All right, so thanks, Ampada. My bid management experience largely lies in managing the large and complex bids. And what I would be quoting here is typically how my team resolved one of the challenges with respect to commercial alignment, which many companies, large companies, face with their bids. Um, the large and complex bids typically have another set of challenges than comparatively the smaller, straightforward ones. These bids run across multiple business groups of their company, and sometimes they're multi-country, and on top of it there may be company vendors as well who would be stepping in to respond. um, Now these offers are managed with lot more planning at a different level. We need to draw clearer accountabilities. You have to fetch in people with their accountabilities, arrive at common agreements, and these are different business groups who have their own smaller sub processes. You have to bring them together to be able to arrive at you know complete end-to-end robust process. However, typical approach that the large companies would take in such manner is to ask the leading business line to take the responsibility of the overall bid. So there may be one of the business line that would hold the larger revenue forecast and would take the responsibility. Now, because of its complex and large nature, these offers are always prepared bottoms up pricing. It's not really a software license that costs n dollars, and then you multiply it by number of user licenses to price it, and to apply a bulk discount, etc.
True.
What would typically happen is that you would start off with the very basic product bill of material, build services on it, every part is costed, and then you kind of bring bill it up. And typically with bottoms up, I'm sure you understand that for maximum companies, keeping themselves aligned on customer target price is almost impractical, because you started off with scratch and you're trying to reach up there, and you have different business groups to follow, and each of them are working towards their own profitability, of course, for the company profit.
Correct.
Now, to keep the focus on customer target price, what my team proposed uh, to introduce having commercial alignment, starting off with a commercial kickoff right at the beginning, at the bid kickoff stage. So once you do that large important bid kickoff, you quickly set up as a bid manager a commercial kickoff. Now this plays a very important role in keeping
Yeah.
commercial focus. Uh,
Agreed.
Most important because you are all focused on the compliancy, your technical abilities, stitching the solution together, but who is really looking at the commercials, aligning it with the with the customer targets. And this is slightly different because this doesn't really have it's not really one of the defined bid management processes. Generally you leave commercial discussions to the business groups, because each of them
Yes.
are working towards their own with their commercial streams, they're working their own profitability. But then here bid management just took up a lead to help solve this problem for the company, for the BGs like business group. In fact, this is kind of change in the way things were moving. So rooting of this concept in the organization, developing a checklist, what we are trying to achieve from this, And even piloting this, etc., was done over a period of as long as 3-4 months. We started off back in 2019, and then suddenly everything changed for us in 2020. We were, of course, the virtual world that we
Correct.
started to work in, it took a little longer for us to pull it through, but eventually it did serve the purpose that we were looking at. What it really does is, it just simply reduces the kind of iterations towards the end of proposal preparation, right, to achieve those commercial alignments. And you would see that, okay, I'll come to that as well. What really were our experiences while we were trying to pull this off in the organization. I'll first talk about what is this commercial alignment, and what does it comprise of. So commercial alignment is commercial kickoff. It includes involving all the identified business line leads together along with the sales team to
Yeah.
discuss purely the finances on the monetary terms. Uh, and it is followed by status checks. So you don't really leave up there. You
Yeah.
follow them on how they're doing
On the
on their
people side.
pricing. Yeah. Now, the very, very basic questions that you look at answering, and you would find that you don't have answers as early as kickoff times. But then, when you have the right questions in place, the team starts to look for answers. For example, what is the customer target price? For large companies, large bids, it's not uncommon that we do not know what is the target price that we are working towards. So do you know it? You don't know it? If you don't know it, can we find that out? Is there a way we can find this out? Is there a customer pricing template to be filled? What's the structure like? What is the kind of information it's requesting? Maybe steps or certain software application licenses. What information we're looking?
What?
Yeah. Then, what very important? What will be the BG value split, the margin split between the business lines? This is one of the factors where you
Right.
would see the
That's
all
most
kinds of
important.
discussions falling. And what will be the pricing strategy? Every business group would like to have their own pricing strategy. Maybe one says, I would like pay as you grow, one would like pay as you use. It could be anything. So many strategies are there. What are the payment terms? Are we all agreeing to it? What is it that the sales team and the contract team suggests? And that should be something which the commercial teams should know. What is the currency? What is the forex rates if you're dealing with other countries, right? Which would be the case mostly with the large companies. Then, what are the discount and margin levels that we are okay with? So this is, as I said, very basic, but the experience the team had, was that uh, it is very basic, but you don't have answers to this. But once you put these questions across, the teams start to look for it, and then it can get as detailed as it can get. So one of the right questions to be asked at the right time. Now, what it serves for is taking away the kind of rushy and quick financial decisions that these leads have. They kind of struggle to take in at the latter part of a preparation. You know that you have to submit within the next 4 days. You're just through with the technicals, and now you're trying to fetch the approvals, but you're so stuck with your own indecisive financial terms. Uh, Having a commercial alignment like this parallelly helps you here. And if you see what has been done in this whole thing, it's just an idea. It's I would say it's just an intervention that bid management did in the regular bid process, a variation in the regular offer creation process, but it just turned out to be very effective in building the commercials. Why? Because it just saves you all the effort you do at the time of negotiations later, and also of course all the last minute rush. And it just fits in totally to the customer budget when it comes to bidding for large solicitations. So this is broadly the idea I would like to put this across. And in fact, within our company, we have also thought of adding up a chapter, like the process book, a book that we have. We're still in process of putting this together so that we can add it as a chapter for every business group and a bid manager to follow on all bids of so and so uh, qualifying criteria. So
Fantastic,
that's about it.
fantastic sharing, Sonal. I really love the idea. I have a couple of questions, but
Hmm.
let me open up for others. If they have any questions, then I will.
Sure.
Uh, yeah, really nice topic you presented, Sonal on. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yes,
we do.
all
Okay,
good.
perfect. Question, two questions I had actually. First is, what was the cycle like? How many days you got to respond to a solicitation, especially looking at the information you have to gather from all the places? And sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
You still have a part of your
Yeah,
question.
the second part is that working within the lines of businesses, okay, like depending on the people part of it, it's very difficult usually, I find, to get information on time. So, any specific measures you took to get it on time?
Okay. So the first one I would say after is my video gone?
Yes, your video is gone. Can you hear us still?
Yes, yes, I'm very much connected, but somehow my video is gone. What could it be?
No problems. You can go ahead.
Okay. So so I was saying that after doing this, there would be a couple of I would say 15 to 20 cases. I think close to 18. The last report I recall is about 18 cases that we have run on this. Um, Variation in bid management, where we have started to do commercial kickoffs after the bid kickoffs,
Yeah.
largely in 2020.
Oh,
And then second part, you said that it's tough to get deliverables on time from various people. Oh, yes, that's true. But as I said, that it's all about driving clear accountabilities, getting on agreements. The sooner you're able to get the accountability in place and an agreement with the people, the better you'll be off at the time of receiving it from them.
True, true.
That
I
applies to
mean,
commercials
you
as well.
only can improve the chances. Finally they end up working at the last moment. But
Right.
at least with this, I felt that they would start thinking about what is a winning price. Okay, what's my pie of the share, especially when it is cross LOBs and multi LOB scenarios. Okay, they start thinking about this very transparently and openly from day one, right? And so more focus is towards strategy and winning than focus towards complying and completing the
Exactly.
response. So that's a wonderful way. I really liked it.
And one of the very I mean, one of the testimonies that we had from our business groups is that it just gives them greater confidence and deeper insight during customer negotiation, leading to ease and profit making. They'll be more clear about what they are fighting for, what they're asking for when they're doing customer negos.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I have a couple of questions, Sonal. One is, what was bid manager's reaction when kind of whoever it is, has put this idea in front? Did the bid managers feel that they are prepared to have this kind of a kickoff, or did they feel that I don't know anything commercially? I just get the pricing, put it in the customer template, and send it. That kind of a feedback. And how did you, if in case that was a case, then how did you overcome that? So that was the first question. And second question is, now that you have implemented this in few bids, has it really made the bid managers kind of believe more in their own abilities to contribute to winning the bid rather than complying to the proposal as such requirements? So those
Um,
were the two questions really.
Yeah, thanks for asking very valid questions. Okay, so you must hear why this happened. Typically, when we get together talking about our challenges in bid management, time and again this was coming, that the business groups are not able to arrive at a single point. We are spending a lot of time doing these pricing iterations towards the end of the offer. This was time and again coming from the bid managers, and that's how we arrived at the solution, that let's get them to talk about this at the beginning of the offer creation, then lament about it towards the end of the offer creation. So it was a joint effort which the bid managers started to work towards, an idea which was appreciated by everyone. And gradually, as I said, that piloting was easy for us within the bid management, but rooting it in the organization was very tough. The organization was not receptive to
Yeah.
having another meeting, another set of kickoff, and then follow-ups. They were not very receptive. But gradually, when they found the value out of it, as I said, that the kind of confidence it was giving to them on the commercial work which has gone in, that was kind of uh, kind of a double effect that you got out of it.
True.
So, and second question, you said bid managers felt confident. Yes, there is. The senior bid managers were very happy to be able to contribute and involve. The the newbies just kind of learned here that how to go about, what kind of discussions go into it, what are the factors which a business group would take in before pricing, how a bill of material and then costing services on it and then pricing constitute to the overall commercials that we submit to the customer. So it's more of a learning process for a lot of them, but it has been wonderful.
Great, great share. Any
Yeah,
other?
this is fantastic, Sonal. Uh, I have one question, or potentially two questions as well. One question is around comparative intelligence. Uh, how did you bake in comparative intelligence into the top-down pricing model? Because again, you're pricing to win, right? And you have to win against competitors. So how was that done?
Okay, so first thing, it's a bottoms up approach generally that the large companies, large offers would take in. And for arriving at pricing over the time, over the years, over a period, mostly all companies trust to build in price books, which is like defined prices for a country, for a kind of product portfolio. It's always good to refer to those price books, which is the case done here as well. But the point is, at what stage are you referring to the price books? It's just that we shifted the whole pricing activity, which is done at the end, because of the bottoms up approach. We shifted all that to the beginning. You start early, you finish better, which was the idea behind this. But it was, as I said, the price books already exist, and wherever we don't, we of course, there's a reason we don't have a price book. So
Got
that's how
it.
it is.
And the second question that I had was, uh, is this relevant for services selling as well as product, or more suited to a particular offer?
This will be product plus services. This includes both.
Okay.
And typically with product and services, you would agree this is both product and services takes up bottoms up.
Yep. Okay. Cool. Thanks.
Wonderful. I think if there are no questions, can we move ahead with Rakesh? I think he's next.
Yeah. So thanks, Sampada. Thanks, Tonal. Yeah, and Bijoy. It was really a good topic. So today my topic is on during RFP bid qualification stage. Let's say when we say to bid or not. So recently I discovered one problem solving framework. So that helps to put all information in structured manner, solve complex problem. So it's called MISCI. Full name is MECE, Mutually, Exclusively, Collectively, Exhaustive. So I am also putting in text for further reference. So what happened, like last year I attended like in one of the APMP webinar and come to know about this framework from Mr. KK Iyer. So yeah, so then I did some research and find out that like this is really eliminating the confusion while RFP bid qualifications, and the focus key area is on key data. So what I did, like there are so many methods. Missy is itself is a good big framework, but I pick up one issue tree methods. It is called a weighted tool. So what it work, like it gives the weightage or scoring, let's say 1 to 5 to
Mm-hmm.
problem statement. So now how I'm using, so let me give you one scenarios. Let's say if I talk about my company flow, so any new RFP bid came, so it will come to our bid team. So what we are doing, we generally first do the validation of the bid to know whether we are bidding or not. So generally we assess the whole document, read the entire RFP document, and we validate the with few parameters. Parameters can be like domain, like whether it is fall under our domain. Are we capability, like are we capable to take this bid, technical, financial, timeline, anything. So based on these 7 to 8 parameters, we are generally validating the RFP problem statement and come to the decisions like whether a bid or not. So now problem things. So problem comes when we qualified as a no bid. Then what happened? Like we sit with sales, upper management, and counter our point like why we are saying no to bid. But at that time, what generally I felt and my team third, like during this analysis, what we compare with problem statement versus parameter. But all these information are very silo. So we couldn't able to, let's say, visualize and couldn't able to make more accurate. So we were thinking about this idea. Then recently I discovered this method. So what I did, like I created one Excel sheet template.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so on left hand side Excel, what I did, I put all the RFP bid problem statement,
Mm-hmm.
and on right hand side Excel, what I created a weightage tool where I put all parameters like where we early discussed domain, capability, technical, or whatever. Then I started to validate problem statement by giving 1 to 5 score. So let's say one example. Let's say one of the RFP, let's say RFP or bid, artificial intelligence, where suppose your organization doesn't have capability, so it falls under your problem statement, right? So you can put this in under problem statement and you can give rating 1 to 5. One is lower and 5 is higher under domain expertise parameters. So this way we put the all problem statement and started putting validation or parameters. So at the end, let's say suppose you have analyzed one RFP, there are 35 problem statement, and you put weightage tool. So what happened at the end? I can have a consolidated mapping and consolidated score about the problems. So let's say for domain expertise score has only 30 marks out of 1 to 5. So using this, not only let's say bid team but your sales and upper management can easily get the visibility, like for this bid we don't have the qualification or we don't have expertise, then they might think about some alternative plan to hire subcontractor or other plan. So at last, so what are the benefits like we are getting? So we just started initially as a pilot, like last year around 3 4 months. But these are some benefit. First and almost is I can now able to map and visualize my problem statement versus validate all parameters. So earlier it was not happening. And as of now, we are in during pandemic time. We all know like we are working mostly work from home. So this template is really helped me. Earlier, what happened? It would take around 1 hour time. Let's say when we say bid qualified, or let's say we is a no bid, then I have to open each and RFP, each and every document, and discuss with sales team. So it would take much time. But now using this template, what I do, I just open the Excel sheet and discuss all parameters and discuss the score based on the validations. So now I can able to wind up meeting like 50 to 20 minutes, and plus, plus all of the like stakeholders would have a 360-degree view about the problem statement, and now the decision is more in the data driven as compared to like Earlier, most of the time, like 20% on gut feeling and this type of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, so this is the point I think like wanted to discuss.
Wonderful.
Hmm. So I would love to hear. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So what I really see in the innovation that you have done is there was a problem statement in terms of people looking at the RFP as silos, and
Hmm.
most of the time what happens is when we look at the RFP, we actually look at things which we cannot fulfill,
Hmm.
and then that kind of over plays on our mind in terms of, oh, last bid it didn't happen, this bid will not happen, but the last bid the weightage was 50, this bid the weightage is only 20, so there is still the winning chance has moved by 30%, and that
Hmm.
we sometimes forget to that thing overplays on us, and sometimes it becomes very difficult to objectively look at the new thing in a new perspective and then take a different decision. But by putting numbers and putting exact requirements, one is process simplification and other is of course objectivity to it, rather than, and then the discussion also will start about, okay, we didn't have skills last time, but what about this time? What's the potential of this business growing? If we are going to get 10 such RFPs, then
Hmm.
why don't we bring that capability somehow anyhow,
Hmm.
so that we are more prepared for the next 8 ones, even if these two are lost. So
Yeah.
absolutely a good way to absolutely good way to do that.
Yeah, and second thing wanted to highlight like using these template or tools productivity increase. Earlier, what happened? Let's say there are 5 to 6 RFPs, so they all of a sudden become on panic mode. So using this now template, they are now more on positive side. Then the productivity increase because they knew at the end like we can come to the conclusion like database data
Yeah,
driven.
yeah. Data driven, most important.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Wonderful, wonderful.
Hmm.
Any
Just
questions?
another thought, another element to consider is the concept of continuous qualification. So
Hmm.
oftentimes, bids get qualified at the beginning, and
Hmm.
then as the time passes, there are additional information that we get to know. Right,
Yeah.
things change the client side, uh, client priorities change, budgets change, a lot of things change. There is an opportunity to do a continuous qualification as we go, and at
Hmm.
point in time also be able to say that okay, now things are not looking good, and therefore we should not pursue it anymore.
Hmm.
But I don't think most of the organizations do that. That,
Hmm.
that is,
True. True.
but
Any
this is
other
not
questions?
the
Yeah. Sorry, Sanjay.
Sorry.
one.
You go ahead, Sanjay.
No, I'm done. I'm done. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Any other questions for Rakesh?
No, I think it's a great idea. Building the metrics and measuring the KPIs. It also gives businesses the opportunity to future investment. So really nice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Wonderful. So thank you so much, Rakesh, for sharing your best practice. We move on to Gopal now for sharing his best practice. I think we would be just in time, which is good actually.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, we have 13 minutes left. We should be
Yeah,
done
yeah.
with it.
No, don't hurry up. We are okay to spend few more minutes as well. So
Sure, sure. Thank you, Sampada. Yeah, so what I'm going to talk about is something which we don't measure during the bidding process. And just to give you some background first, like our company bids on, is specializes in public sector. So we serve state, counties, which is equivalent to district here, local agencies, higher education, K-12 schools. So that is something that we specialize on. Now, 2019 was a slow year for us, and still we submitted around 120 bids or so during the year.
oh,
The volume itself is large, and
mm,
we realized this happened as Corona started. We realized that our success rate or hit rate is low. Now we are doing very good on content. We have good references, the formatting and everything. We would go section by section and measure it exactly how to do it, but still we were not doing it right. Somewhere we were missing it. So we thought, what do we do? We thought, let's start understanding what people want rather than what RFP document wants.
Hmm.
So we first is the contract manager or the procurement manager who publishes the RFP itself. We would go to their LinkedIn profile, their social profiles, and see what are their interests, what are the words they commonly use.
Hmm.
Then most of these RFPs would have a pre-proposal conference. So we would see who are the attendees, the IT part of it, the delivery managers, who are the people who may be there are few times when they give the evaluation panel or introduce the evaluation panel, but most of the times they don't. But there is a good chance that people who are present at the pre-proposal conference are the people who are going to evaluate the proposal. So to each, we'll go to each of those profiles and see like what are their personality traits, what
Ah.
is their specific goal towards the organization, what they want to do for the organization, what are their personal achievements, the commonly used words, like what kind of words they commonly use, so that we can imbibe in our response in that particular area when we do. There is a tool also we use in between, Crystal Nose, which kind of Crystal Nose will give you like what are the specific personalities, what they want to hear, what they don't want to hear. Kind of a nice tool it was. There
Oh.
are others also available. So it helped us kind of improve the process. So how it helped is, when we are responding to particular areas, we will consider those words. We will consider those specific goals of that particular organization that the person has, and then try to include it. Initially, it was very difficult because it's not so easy to measure these things. But
Hmm.
slowly, the team started getting how we do it. Like we started putting those bullets together.
Hmm.
So it really helped in the response. And at the same time, there are most of the times there are interviews we have to give as a part of selection process. So
Hmm.
when the panel is going for the interview, they almost know each of the person's profile. They, and sometimes profiles are open. They even know last week where this person had a dinner, or how
Hmm.
many kids they have, what do they like doing. So those are the things like kind of we started understanding, and it made a lot of difference because walking in the room or going into a meeting, it was not like we are going in between the strangers. We are going between the known people most of the time.
Hmm.
So actually, it is still in a kind of pilot process. We have used this for about 42 or 43 RFPs so far. It's still kind of improving the process of doing how to do it. But during this process, we have improved the bid success rate by 45%. Which
Oh.
is huge, like because
Hmm.
if during 2018 we were able to win 24 RFPs, now we have added at least 12 upfront itself.
Wow.
So that's a kind of thing I wanted to share. Something which we end up neglecting, because but end of the day it is the people who decide who will be the selected vendor. It's not the document itself, and we have to understand their personality, their psychology, their goals, what motivates them, and what they like. If we include it, then I think it is a good hit.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Yes.
This is very very interesting. So, Crystal Nose. So we've been using like in my organization. In fact, we've been using Crystal Nose for a while now, uh, at least 3 years, 3 or 4 years. But we did that for the sales guys. Sales guys would use it to initiate
Yeah.
conversation and outreach to stakeholders and tailor their conversations and messaging. But for proposal use case, especially when you get into maybe a orals presentation, there it will be a fantastic tool to use as well, because then this is taking know your audience to the next level, right?
Correct.
Uh, and this point that you talked about, you know, you are in the midst of people that you know, is such a brilliant idea. I love
Correct.
it.
Yep.
Yeah, I would also be able to echo on this. This is used by the sales team largely for relationship building, and to be able to define who are the decision makers, who are the influencers, and it plays a heavy role in the discussions that we do with the customer. Knowing your customer is how we say it, and it's also uh, but as I said, that this is largely in the sales team. As bid management, you are also involving into this. This is great to know.
Hmm.
Very nice.
Thanks, Sonal. And actually, coming from a sales background is something which
I
helped me
see.
imbibe this idea.
I see.
Correct.
So maybe one question. So any challenges you face Gopal in implementing this? Is this, for example, relevant for short cycle deals as well, where the turnaround time is very short? Is there a agile way of doing it, or is it detailed research always? Like, just talk about some of the challenges you faced in the execution.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, the biggest challenge was knowing who are the decision makers first. So finding that out, talking to the people around, and in public sector, what happens is once the RFP is out, you cannot talk to the decision makers. So you
Hmm.
have to really make use of the champions to get that information who would be there.
Hmm.
Second is the what parameters are we really going to put together? So we put together a matrix like this is for a particular persona like do's, don'ts, likes, dislikes, motivation. Those are the different sections we prepared for each person. Then
Hmm.
hobbies, the organizations the person is involved in, some background about family if available, something like that.
Hmm.
So, but again, not more, all the information was available for everybody. But then slowly, as the team research team, we have two people who specifically do research on this, and as they got more and more tools to do it, they
Hmm.
were able to get us more information.
So the tool seems to be
Right.
used more for the hiring part of it. So I didn't get the exact way of how did you apply it to the decision makers and the influencers whom you are trying to deal in a sales process.
Yeah, usually this tool Crystallos is used more by the salespeople to kind of talk the words or speak the ideas that people want to hear.
Hmm.
We extrapolated the same thing to understand what people would like to hear in the response, RFP response.
I see.
So yeah, so that is how we use this. Yeah, tool is one of the things, but again, it goes into the detailed research. The more, but the merrier. The more we know, the better off we
Hmm.
are responding to the people. So that's how we kind of ended up
So,
doing it.
if I understand you correctly, Gopal, the research part of normally sales would know who are the influencers, who are the decision makers, the names part of it. Okay, probably they may not be, having any relationships with them. All right, and that's where the bid managers, really did some back end research, from the LinkedIn profiles and the public, big data, so to say, big personal data that is available on Google, and then you try to capture those critical parameters about the decision makers and influencers who in terms of hobbies, etc. So is this how you did it actually?
Yeah, yeah, that is partially correct. Actually, most of the times in private sector, we end up knowing the decision makers and the whole structure very fast. But in public sector, what happens is there are hidden things. Like there are people who will have more the say, but they are not there in the whole process. They will not reflect too much in the process.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and we focus more on the public sector, so that made it little bit of challenge to get the right set of people to study their personalities.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So the public sector in US is not as open as as India, because in India it's really not. I would say I mean you still have to be compliant for the RTI sake. So
Yeah.
so things are pretty open and transparent from an evaluation perspective on a RFP.
Yeah.
While the decisions in the private sector really are on the same lines that you are saying, wherein board takes a decision and not our salespeople, even the upper hierarchy, may or may not have access to the entire board as such.
That is correct. Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, US public sector is more transparent, but at the same time, the compliance rules about RFPs and the whole process is so strict. Like you cannot breach it. If you breach it, then you will be banned from upcoming
Wow.
RFPs throughout.
Okay. Okay.
So we have to walk that delicate line to find out the details. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
One other thing I heard, Gopal, was you talked about uh, the thematic or cultural alignment as well. Can you touch upon that a little bit? So, one is knowing your client and maybe the decision makers, right? Their hot buttons.
Yeah.
The other is a cultural alignment with the organization broadly, your client organization. Uh, and then making sure that that's reflected in the tonality of your proposal, the way it's written, the way it's designed, and the visual, uh, you know, uh, uh, visual design that's embedded into the proposal. All of those elements. Can you just explain that a little bit more in terms of how you did it?
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's a very good question. And how it happens is organizations, the average age of organization, for example, is a parameter which impacts it. This is just an example. But reading through those people, reading through the RFPs, you will know like this is an organization which is process specific. This is an organization which will be open to more flexibility. Then there are organizations which are open to new proposed model of service. So it depends. Like when you read through it, then you know what are your limitations depending on the culture or culture that organization follows. Is it open ended? Is it more technology oriented? Is it more like if you see most of the people are like 55 or above, that happens a lot of times. Then how do you approach them? Like, do you talk more about technology or do you talk more about the process aspect or the experience aspect of it? So yeah, understanding exactly, the culture part of the organization along with the people becomes more important. And maybe we don't get the detailed reflection of it, but some idea about it. Like what should be our approach? Yeah.
Got it. Fantastic. It's very helpful. Thanks.
Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think some really great ideas came in, and it has really started some things in my mind in terms of how can I take some of these back to my organization and start talking about it. So it's wonderful sharing that you have done, and we see we are at the top of the hour, so probably we will if it's okay, we will finish here, and we'll meet up once again next month to go ahead and on another topic. So thank you so much to all speakers, Rakesh, Gopal, Bijoy, Sonal, for wonderful experience sharing that you did today.
Yeah, absolutely. Great learning
Thank you
experience.
so much,
Yeah, thank you.
Mata, Rupesh, for the platform.
So, thank you everyone.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Nice
you.
talking to
Bye.
you. Bye.